has launched himself into the thick of the MVP race. Ravens offensive coordinator Greg Roman has built the team's offense around Lamar's unique skill set, which has helped the QB to turn a corner in his second season. NFL writer Jeffrey Chadia compared what the Ravens have done with Lamar to how the Broncos found success by tailoring their game plan around the mobile Heisman winner, Tim Tebow. Got a little Tebow in the news with us. Shannon, is there any comparison between what the Broncos did for Tebow and what the Ravens are doing with Lamar?
No, they don't. They haven't done anything more than what any other team. See, this notion is that if you're a running quarterback, they tailor the offense to your skill set. Well, hell, you don't think Aaron Rodgers' offense is tailored to what he does really well? And Tom Brady and Drew Brees? Of course.
That's all conventional. Yeah, that's the way it's always been done.
But the notion that, this offense, they did. Sean Payton, did he call plays the exact same way for Teddy Bridgewater as he did Drew Brees? Or he tailored the offense to what Teddy Bridgewater does really well? Of course. Skip, look, this notion that he's the only guy that's ever had a system that was custom built for him is really disingenuous. First of all, Tebow rode a great defense, a great field goal kicker to an 8-8 record. They lost their last 3 games, Jenny, and they lost the final game of the season 7-3. Matt Prater had to kick 60-yard field goals. You had to get a situation where the guy from Chicago runs out of bounds, stop the clock. Hold on, something else. Lamar team. Did you know, Skip, Lamar Jackson team leads the NFL in scoring? Tim Tebow in his 11 starts, they averaged 18.5 points a game, which was 24th. Lamar Jackson team is averaging 33.3, which is number 1. So other than them both winning the Heisman Trophy, both having good legs, I don't really see the similarities. Tim Tebow was never, ever as dynamic of a runner or a passer in the NFL as this kid. It's not even comparable. So if you want to say, well, they both won the Heisman, sure, in their junior season. Well, Tim won his in his sophomore season, excuse me. But Skip, stop. That's where it stops. That's where it ends. There's no comparison. It's not even close. And the reason why the Broncos moved on, they realized that, you know what? The likelihood of our defense holding teams to 10 points. And when they went on that 5-game winning streak, Skip, they were winning games 17-13, 10-7, 13-10. You can't play like that.
Oh.
So.
Really?
No.
Those didn't count?
Skip.
They said, you didn't score enough, you lose.
Do you believe?
Right?
There's a reason why. And the reason why the Ravens, after that historic defense in 2000, they said, what's the likelihood of our defense coming back and giving up another 165 points for the entirety of the season? You're going to have to score. The one thing that this team can do, because their defense, the Ravens defense is good, it's not dynamic, it's not great, they can put points on the board. And the Broncos, they struggled doing that. It was a defensive battle, and Matt Prater, time after time, had to walk on the field at the end of the day and kick 60-yarders, 58-yard field goals. If you think that's sustainable for a 5 or 10-year time frame, it's not.
Okay. So help me out here. Tim Tebow in 2011 started 11 games on stretch. And how many times did he walk into your restaurant and you said, come on in, Tim? How many times out of 11?
That's not what we
do. 7 out of 11 times he came to your restaurant and you said, come on in. And by the way, he was the most famous player who ever walked into your restaurant.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
No.
Name somebody more famous.
Dak.
Dak's lived at your restaurant.
Yeah,
he's got his own private room with bottle service.
Especially last month.
Specials as well.
Yeah. Here's what happened. Tim Tebow blazed a trail. He opened a door that Lamar is running through. And I will be the first to give you this. Lamar's a better thrower. The football, even though he's not a great thrower, but he's better than Tim Tebow, maybe markedly better than Tim.
Yeah. Until
crunch time. Tim Tebow was really good in crunch time throwing the football. But I'm also going to give you this. Lamar's a way better runner than Tim Tebow. And Tim was a credible runner in the NFL.
They were different types of runners.
Okay.
One was more of a bulldozer, more of a pickup truck. The other guy was a Lamborghini Ferrari.
Right, because I think Tim went 245-ish, somewhere in there, right in there, 250-ish. And he could run over you occasionally on 3rd and 4. He could run over you, keep it on the read option, right? So what happened? That team was 1-4, just dead in the Denver water. And John Elway had taken over. John Fox had taken over. New regime. They did not draft Tim Tebow. Who did? Josh McDaniels, now calling plays for Tom Brady. Josh McDaniels was gone. He had gotten fired over another incident that had nothing really to do with actually coaching the football team, but he was out.
Yeah.
But what did he say? Again, I said before the draft that year, yeah, I'd take Tim at the bottom of the first round only if I was committed to letting him run his college offense.
Right.
Okay.
Well, who's going to do that? Probably nobody. But I said I would. I'd take that shot because he will win football games as a starting quarterback if you let him do what Urban Meyer let him do at Florida.
Got it.
Josh McDaniels took him 25th, bottom of the first round. And I don't know what Josh's plan was for Tim because we never got to really see it, right? He was gone in Tim's rookie year at mid-year, right? Yep.
Yeah, after they came back from London.
Yep.
He, you know, he got
That
his,
was it.
He got his camera out, Jenny.
Yep, got his camera out, and he was out.
Yes.
So we get to the next year, and Kyle Orton is the starting quarterback for 5 games, and they are just abysmal. They are dismal. They're unwatchable. So Elway and Fox finally said, let's get this Tebow thing over with. People are clamoring for Tim Tebow. Let's give him Tim Tebow at Miami in game number 6.
Yep.
And you know the rest of the story. It's NFL history because I'm not sure any quarterback's ever gone on a more unlikely run than Tebow went on for the rest of the year. They won in overtime, thanks to Mac Prater at Miami, but he set up that field goal with a couple of big completions. And Eric Mangini, who's also on the show, he contributes here, but he's on our show on ESPN, repeatedly said in 2011, the weird thing about Tim Tebow is he gets deadly accurate in the last 5 minutes of games. It's like he's going to will the football where it's supposed to go. There's a lot of that in his intangible makeup, right?
Yeah.
So what did we see? We saw him lead the NFL in QBR over the last 5 minutes of all those 11 games leading to the playoff game at home against Pittsburgh. And what happened in that game? He threw for 316 in that game. And they rushed for a bunch of yards because guess what he had turned them into? The #1 rushing attack in pro football. So the phrase that I hate the most, but I always use, there are different ways to skin this cat. Well, he was skinning it a whole different way than anybody had ever skinned it because they were leading the league in rushing. They were controlling the football. They were often keeping the defense off the field. It had been awful for the first 5 games. It had the capability with Von Miller to be pretty good. And yet that style, that sort of recipe was winning a lot of football games. It was. Okay, so it worked. And then I saw something in that article you mentioned that that Tebow couldn't sustain. Well, he never got a chance to sustain it because that was the end of Tim Tebow, as we knew and for a moment loved him. Because Denver had Peyton Manning knocked on the door in the offseason. Can I play here? Yeah. Would I go with Peyton Manning over Tim Tebow? You better.
Well, they was moving on. They was moving on if had Peyton not knocked on their door.
Okay, well, whatever. So Rex Ryan acquired Tim Tebow and promised him, according to Tim on the phone, I'm going to give you a shot to win the starting job. He didn't get a shot with the Jets. So again, they weren't going to give him a chance to do what Urban Meyer did at Florida.
Well, he went to what you call him, Skip, Philly.
Okay, but that was in the preseason. He went to the preseason. He actually played pretty well. And I don't know what happened. Yes,
I came on your show and told you he wasn't going to make it.
Okay, well, he was playing pretty well.
No, he was not.
Remember, pull that tape.
Okay, and then Belichick just liked the kid, so we brought him to camp for a minute.
You mean to tell me the guy that drafted
Did anybody give Tim Tebow a shot? Anybody give him that kind of shot? Did anybody say, I'm going to go into game 1 next year doing this with Tim Tebow? I'm going to let him run the read option, the zone read the whole year.
Well, Skip.
Did anybody do that? No. Nobody did.
Because they was like, unless you got the 85 Bears, the 2000 Ravens, or the 02 Bucks, to have an outstanding defense that's going to keep the game. Because what happens if the score is 35-0 the last 5 minutes of the game? He's moot. It doesn't matter.
They didn't get behind 35.
That was my point. The defense had to keep the game close.
Well, they had a decent defense.
They had
it hadn't played very well. Because you know what happens when you have a Tim Tebow? He lifts the whole squad. Everybody starts playing at a higher level because he's fun to be around and it's contagious energy.
Well, you Skip, you do know after he won that 18-15 game in overtime in Miami, he came right home and got beat 45-14 by Detroit.
Yep.
And there were some games which they got blown out. Okay. And then they lost at home 7-3. When do you see a game 7-3?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of games. We don't have time to go through all the 7 wins. There's some impressive wins in there.
But Skip, there were 2 impressive wins in there. There was the Raiders win. He scored 38, and I think he scored 35 against someone else.
At Minnesota.
At Minnesota, yes. But other than that, Skip, 10-7, 13-10, 17-13. Skip.
How about 29-23 over Roethlisberger and the Steelers?
geez.
Well, how about that?
Skip.
And by the way, do you remember that last pass in overtime? I haven't seen that in a long time.
No, that's Skip.
Can we
Don't do
see
it. Oh, my God.
Just to remind everybody,
Oh,
look at this. He can't throw, but that was a good pass. Damaris is loose. He's loose.
So how much of this is Tim and how much of this is DT?
I was going to
This was
say.
the greatest moment of my game-watching life, right there. That was it.
Of your
I fell
life?
on the floor of my life.
Yes.
Of my life. I fell on the floor, and I couldn't believe it had just happened.
Why are you
I
playing
rolled
zero?
over and over like
Why
I was
are you
on
playing
fire.
zero? Why are you playing
on
zero in this
fire.
situation?
Don't try to nitpick. It just happened.
You know.
You know why? Because they didn't think he could throw. Well, boom, gotcha.
There you go.
Yep, the sky fell on the Pittsburgh
I
Steelers.
tell you
Best
what,
to see
I
the
give you
footage again.
I give you 2011 Tim Tebow, or I give you right now Lamar Jackson. Who
Well,
you taking?
obviously, I'm taking Lamar Jackson, but do not